Hi everybody, it's me, Miss Lisa, and welcome to Stitch Kids. Today the project we are going to work on is a set of backpack buddies. Backpack buddies are little felt animals on a ribbon attached to your backpack, or maybe a jacket or a bulletin board with a metal ring. The thing I like about this project is that you start with one pattern and then you customize that pattern to create the critters that you like the best. You'll see here I have a dog, a pig, a chicken, a bunny, and a bear. To complete this project, you will need a supply kit from the South Huntington Public Library. Your supply kit will include a variety of colored felt, a pattern on a piece of tracing paper, 3 metal rings, 3 pieces of ribbon, several colors of embroidery floss, and a little bit of polyfiber fill stuffing. You will need to provide scissors, a marker, your sewing kit with your pins, needles, and needle threader, and some kind of glue. Okay, when you've got all of those things gathered together, we can begin. As I said in my introduction, the really cool thing about this project is that you start with one pattern that looks like this, and you can make all of these different creatures. The way you do it is you use your pattern to create the body, and then you use your imagination to create ears and noses, faces, combs and beaks or feathers, whatever it is that you can imagine using the items that are in your kit. So today, I'm going to demonstrate for you how to make the monkey, because the monkey includes all of the different kinds of elements you may need to use to create the other animals. He's got ears, he has a face. We're going to use a blanket stitch around the outside of the monkey, a whip stitch for his face, some embroidery stitches for his eyes, nose, and mouth. Okay, let's begin. Okay, cut out the body pattern from the tracing paper. You'll want to cut around the thick black lines on your shape. You'll be cutting tracing paper, which is a little bit slippery, so do the best you can. And then lay the pattern on the tissue paper. We're going to be working on a monkey, so I'm going to make my own pattern for the ears. I'd like his ears to look like this. And now I'm going to remove the body and add a little bit more length to the ears, like this. The reason I'm adding some length to this pattern is so the ears will get tucked nicely inside the 2 pieces of the body and stay securely on his head after he is sewn together. So this, you can see here, this will be your extra fabric that will be hidden inside the head. You won't see that, but it will keep the ears in place. The monkey has a face, so I'm going to make an oval shape for the monkey's face and use this as a pattern for the face. Now, if there are other creatures I would like to make, I can go ahead right now and make patterns for the other pieces that I might need. So let's see. Let's try the bunny. So I'll do the same thing to make a bunny. Start with my original pattern and make 2 ears. Like this. and then add a little bit extra to the bottom of the ears. So you'll see the little bit extra will help to anchor the ears in place. And the bunny is going to need a nose. You can make a pattern for the nose, or if you want to, when it's time to assemble the rabbit's face, you could just kind of wing it with your felt and create a nose from scratch. Okay, and one more that can be kind of interesting is the chicken. You should have enough supplies in your kit to make 3 creatures. You may have fabric left over from other projects we've worked on. You can make more if you have extra fabric. That's what's nice about these, is they're tiny. They're great for using up those little fabric scraps that you can't use for anything else. Okay, so here's my body pattern, and for the chicken's comb, just make something that looks a little like a crown, and we'll add a little bit more to the bottom to secure it between the 2 pieces we'll cut of the body. And if you want to make a little tiny pattern for the beak, you can do that here, or you can just cut a tiny piece of felt when it's time to do the face. All right, so decide which creature you would like to work on. We're going to work on the monkey today. Cut out those pattern pieces, and then we'll get started with the pinning. After you've cut out your pattern pieces, decide which pieces of felt you would like to use. For the monkey, I'm going to use dark brown for his body and light brown for the face and the ears. So let's start with the body. Our pattern has some special instructions. Body cut 2. We're going to need 2 pieces of the body. So when pinning to the felt, be sure you get it as close to the edge as possible so you can fit 2 bodies, or I should say cut 2 bodies from this one piece of felt. And you will pin it like so. Cut all the way around the thick black line, unpin it, move it to the next side so you have 2 pieces of body. For the face and the ears, it can be a little tricky because these are very small. So do the best you can with the pinning and the cutting. You may need to move your pin while you are cutting. I'm going to pin these on very carefully. Don't worry if the pin hangs over like this, we can always slide it aside to cut. Okay, I need another pin. There we go. Okay, once you've cut everything out, we'll get back together and we'll work on the face and the ears. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. After you've cut out your fabric, be sure to remove the pins. Set your pattern pieces aside. Put the pins in a safe place, like in a little dish or a bowl, or back in your pin pal if you have one. Okay. Now let's work with one piece of the monkey's body. This is going to be the top piece where I'm going to put his face. Now I think the pattern I made ended up with a face that is a little bit too big, in my opinion. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my scissors to make this a little smaller. Remember that this project relies on your imagination and your creativity. You can make the animals look any way you want. If you don't even want to make animals, you could make something else. You can make people or aliens. It's totally up to you. Be creative. That looks a little bit better. And then when his ears are here, this is what he'll look like with his ears. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's set the ears aside for now, and I'm going to pin the face in place. I'm going to work on the face first because I will need to turn the monkey over to make knots in my embroidery thread, and I want to do that before it's put together with the back of the body. That way I'm not sewing through both pieces of felt, only this one, and you won't see the knots on the back once the monkey is put together. Okay, so we're going to use a whip stitch to go around the face to secure it to the body. You may choose any color thread you have in your kit. I'm going to use light brown for this part. I'm going to use a needle with a wide eye and my needle threader to make it a little easier on myself. Put the wire through the needle eye, put your embroidery floss through the needle threader and pull, leaving a little tail hanging here. We'll leave the tail where it is and go to the other end and make a double knot. Wrapping the thread around your finger and pull. Wrap it around your finger and pull for a nice double knot. Okay, now starting on the back, I'm going to push the needle through both pieces of felt, coming up through the front. And then put the needle back through just one piece of felt, the dark felt, and pull. Don't pull too hard, you don't want it to pucker. Pull just hard enough so you can still see your stitch. And now continue trying to keep your stitches as even as possible as you go all the way around the face. Like so. It can be a little tricky to sew in a circle. Just take your time and try to keep the stitches the same size if you can. All right, now continue until you end up back where you started. Okay, when you've finished sewing all the way around the face, you're going to go to the back and tie off. You'll find a seam next to where you ended. Put the needle through the seam to create a loop. Put the needle through the loop and pull the thread nice and tight to make a knot, and then cut the loose thread. And you can remove the pin. All right, now we're ready to add eyes, nose, and mouth. For this, I'm going to use some black embroidery floss. So I'll take the light brown floss out of the needle with the big eye and load up this needle with the black thread. Doing the same thing, pulling it through and leaving a tail. Tying a double knot at the end. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right, now we are ready. So there's a couple of different stitches we can use for the eye. This one, you'll notice, looks like a little knot. This is an embroidery stitch called a French knot. It can be a little tricky, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway, and we'll see if it works. If it works for you, that's great. If not, we have an alternative. Decide where you would like one of the eyes to go and push your needle through the back of the fabric, pushing through both layers, and pull. Okay, now you're going to wrap the embroidery thread around your needle 2 times. Hold it while holding on. Whoops, let's try that again. As you can see, this is very tricky. Wrap the needle around. As you can see, this is very tricky. Wrap the thread around 2 times. And now you're going to push the needle in right near where it came up. You're going to hold tight on this loose piece of thread while you pull. Untangle it from the body, of course, and pull very gently through like that so it leaves a knot. Okay, so that worked out really well. Let's do it one more time, and then the other stitch I'll show you is one we'll use for the nose. Okay, to do another French knot, pull your embroidery floss through both layers. Wrap the thread around the needle 2 times. Hold it tight. Push the needle in very close to where it came out the first time. Pull while you're holding on to the thread. Pull very gently. And there we have it. We have another knot. So we just made 2 eyes. Not quite even, but that's all right. I don't mind if my animals look a little silly. Okay, if the French knot is not working for you, then you can use an embroidery stitch called the Staton stitch. Come up through the back, leave a little bit of room and push the needle back down. And then make another stitch very close to that one, because you're kind of filling in an area here. You're going to kind of color using your thread like that. And I think I'll do one more to kind of round out the nose a little bit. And you can use as many stitches as you want. If you want to go over it one more time, that will leave you with a nose that looks like a little bump. Okay, there you go. Something else you can do, I just thought of this while I was showing you how to do the sewing. If you have scraps and you don't want to make eyes, nose, or mouth out of thread, you can use your scraps. Might be a little tricky to cut something so small, but you can do it. You could make a nose for your monkey like that. You could make a mouth if you wanted to, and just use glue to stick it to the face. That's totally up to you. All right. So I'm pretty happy with that nose. And now I'm going to use some straight stitches for the mouth. You can see the straight stitches here. You make a stitch, leave a little space, make another stitch. Start at one end of the face, pulling the needle through the back and then back down. Trying to keep these as close together as I can. So his mouth will look like a smile and not like a growling mouth or something like that. The cool thing about the embroidery thread and the fact that we left a tail is if you make a mistake, you can always take it out. Just take the needle off of your thread. Use your needle to pull the stitch through and do the stitch again. Okay, I'm going to do one more. There we go. So he's kind of a smirking little monkey. He almost looks like a sloth, actually. I guess I could turn him into a sloth if I just sewed him together like that with no ears. That's a possibility. Okay, when his face is finished, turn the body over, find the stitch nearest where you ended, pull through, leaving a loop. There we go, making a knot, and trim. Okay, very nice. Okay, now we are going to work with the back of the monkey. This is where we are going to secure the ribbon that will be used for hanging. I think I'm going to use the green ribbon from my kit. I'm going to fold it in half with the spots on the outside because I like the spots, but you could fold it the other way if you want a solid colored ribbon. Fold it in half and then pin it to the back of the head. I'm going to start way over here on the side of the head, push the pin through the ribbon, up, down through the ribbon, and then back through the side of the head so it's nice and secure, just like that. Okay, I think I'm going to use a lighter color of thread to sew it on there. I should mention that you can glue the ribbon to the back of the monkey. Just make sure that the glue is totally dry before continuing with the next steps. Okay, so let's put this light color back into the needle, leaving a tail and making a double knot. Okay, now I'm going to start from the inside, push the thread through the felt and the ribbon, pull it through, and make a straight stitch going across. This is a lot of layers, so it might be kind of hard to push it all the way through. You may need a grown-up to help you. And now I have a straight stitch that's holding the ribbon to the monkey's back. I think I'm going to make 2 or 3 more stitches just so it's nice and secure, trying to keep them the same length so it looks a little neat, like that. You can go as far as you want, all the way down to the bottom if you like. Okay, there we go. That looks good. 3 stitches. Now to test it, I can remove the pin, and that seems nice and secure. So when you're finished, you'll turn it over and tie off your thread. As usual, finding the seam closest to where you finished. Put the needle under the seam to make a loop. Put the needle through your loop and pull. And trim. Little bits of thread you don't need. Okay. And now we're going to lay this ribbon side down onto the table and work with the ears. And this is where your glue is going to come in. I have a brand new tube of glue. So let's make that ready to use. Okay, so going to start by gluing the ears to the back of your monkey, one at a time, putting the glue on that little extra bit of fabric that you added when you created your pattern. Press it down nice and secure, and do the same with the other. Just like that. Okay, now this can be a little tricky. What we are going to do is add some glue to the top of these ears and add the top piece of the monkey. This way the ears are secured to both pieces of the head. we're not going to sew the ears in. We're going to be sewing around the ears. Okay, so that's where I think what we should do before we go any further is pin the body together. That way it won't slide as we are gluing. So use as many pins as you think you need to keep the body secure. I think I might put one pin in each arm and one pin in each leg. There we go. Now fold the face back, add a little bit of glue here and here to the ears. Now press the head together for a few seconds. If the glue is oozing, you can use your finger to wipe up some of that glue. Okay, when all of the pieces are stuck together, you can set this aside and let it dry. And after everything is dry, we'll pick up with our stitching. I'll see you in a little bit. When your glue is dry, it's time to start stitching. Now, I noticed there are a couple of little funky things going on here with the monkey, such as the front and the back don't quite line up as perfectly as I thought they might, and this is because I cut the pieces out one at a time, so I'm not surprised that that happened. So I'm going to take the pins out, put them back in Pin Pal, and kind of move the body around a little bit with my fingers to see if I can get them to better line up. And if not, we can trim some of this extra fabric that we don't need. All right, so I think that's the best we can do with the lining up. So let's put the pins back. Sometimes this happens, especially when you're working with something small. It's difficult to keep everything even, but that's okay. It's a handmade item. It's supposed to be a little bit quirky. All right, so if you see any spots that maybe need to be rounded out or aren't matching up properly, like over here, it's a little bit of extra arm material, you can use your scissors to trim that away. Also, the ears look a little square, so I'm going to kind of round those out too. There we go. Okay, now we are ready to start stitching. I added the dark brown thread to my needle, but you can use any color you would like. I remembered to put a double knot at the other end. I left a tail here, so if I make any mistakes, I can take the stitches out and redo them. And I'm going to do a blanket stitch going around the outside, starting at the bottom of the ear. Put your needle through one layer of the felt for the body and pull. This way we can hide this little loose tail inside the body. Make a loop by going all the way around and coming up very close to where you started. And now we can start the blanket stitch. After you make your loop, put the needle through, pull it to the side a little bit. We're going to go from back to front, leaving a loop. Grab the loop with your needle and pull, and you'll see we've left a little bit of thread here on the side. That's what a blanket stitch looks like. It's a nice border stitch. If you don't feel like doing a blanket stitch around the outside, that's okay. You can just do a simple whip stitch like the stitch that you did here, which is simply going around, making a loop, but not catching the loop and pulling like this. Okay, so continue around the monkey's body using either the whip stitch or the blanket stitch, whichever you choose. You're going to go all the way around and you're going to stop at the bottom of this ear. You'll recall from our pattern that we needed to leave the top of our backpack buddy open. This way we can add a little bit of stuffing to give him some shape. So go ahead and finish stitching all the way around, and I'll meet you back here after you're finished. Remember, take your time, go slow, keep your stitches as even as possible, and have fun. Okay, I'm almost at the end of the first part of stitching my backpack buddy. So I've got a couple more stitches to do here, and then I'm going to tie off this dark thread here just below the monkey's ear. There's one more stitch there, and now I can make a knot by going back through the stitch I just made, leaving a loop, put the needle through the loop, and pull. Now I'm going to kind of push the needle through these last few stitches, going way down here, and I'm going to trim this thread. That way I can hide that little tail of thread in the stitches I already made. Okay, let's remove the pins. Put them in a safe place. And you'll notice that your backpack buddy has very narrow arms and legs. That's okay. We don't intend to stuff the arms and legs. We just intend to add a little bit of polyfiber fill to his belly to give him a little bit of shape. So take some of your fiber fill, take a pinch, and push it down through the head right into the belly, just like so. You can add a little bit more, I think. You could even add some to the head if you'd like. It's up to you. I think I'm just going to keep it in the belly, just like that. So he has a little bit of shape. And now we can finish stitching. To finish stitching the head, we're going to pick up our stitching on the other side of the ear. Let's use dark brown thread with a double knot at the end. Start your stitch in between the two pieces of felt. This way we'll hide that pesky little tail inside the monkey's head. And come around the outside, make a loop. Ooh, watch out for the ears. Like that. Okay. And now we're ready to continue with the blanket stitch. Go around the back, push your needle through both pieces of felt. Catch the loop on your needle and pull. And continue all the way over to the other ear. If you used a whip stitch on the body, you'll want to use a whip stitch on the head so that your stitches will be the same, will be consistent all the way around the monkey. And make sure that you don't catch the ribbon in your needle. You can fold that down and hold it with your fingers if you need to. Okay, this is nice and quick. All the way over to the other ear, and the ears should be secured by the glue. They shouldn't be moving while you're sewing. Oops, there we go. Okay, and when you reach the end, we're going to make a loop in the thread right here. Put the needle through the loop to tie a knot, and now slide the needle through a few stitches. Pull the thread all the way through, and now snip as close as you can to the monkey's head without cutting the felt. And your tail is hidden again. There you are. Your kit contains 3 of these silver binder loops. They latch together at the top. You just kind of push apart and then pull to open it, and then push them together. It should snap, and you can snap your backpack buddy onto your clothes or onto your backpack or a bulletin board, and your backpack buddy is ready to enjoy. Now, as I said before, your kit contained more colors of felt, so you should have some extra felt left over here. And now you can make another buddy using your main body pattern and the other pieces that you drew way back at the start, or you can wing it by cutting your own ears and noses by hand without a pattern. Whatever you do, I hope you have fun, and I hope you'll send me a picture of what you finally create. Thank you so much for stitching with me today, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Take care.